Welcome to the Business Legends Podcast, where we interview business leaders and entrepreneurs so that you can learn from their successes, become inspired, and meet the people that make change happen. I'm the host of the show, Reese Arlen, and today I'm joined by business coach extraordinaire, the resultant himself, Harm Stratman. Harm, thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. So what is a business coach? Let's go ahead and start at the top. What exactly do you do for work?
I'm helping companies to grow. My focus is on growing fast.
Okay.
Standard growth, fast growth. And I'm using Kaizen methods for that.
Okay.
And looking for the compounding nature of activities inside of the company.
Yeah. So for our listeners, and we, a lot of our listeners are young and up and coming entrepreneurs. Yeah. So can you explain what Kaizen means, Kaizen method?
Kaizen is a philosophy based on small steps of improvement. Instead of big steps, which never stick.
Right, sure.
And people do hate that. Big steps, that's scary stuff. You do small steps.
Okay.
And you do a lot of small steps, but it will stay and it will accelerate all the next steps.
Okay.
It will still be there.
Right.
That's the big trick of change.
Gotcha. It's a brilliant thing. It works not just in business, but I think that works with all sorts of methods of growth.
Yeah,
whether
absolutely.
it's if you're training for a marathon or something like that. But
originally it's out of the quality philosophy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very good. So, you come into companies, and do you just work with all sorts of different companies, or do you have a specific target for?
Yeah, I stay away from the big ones.
Okay, gotcha. Fair enough.
Too much red tape,
Mm-hmm.
and experience with red tape, I don't like it anymore.
Yeah.
So it's small and medium size.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what. And the type of companies, not so much. I have no typical preference.
Yeah.
I stay away a little bit from the medical guys,
Mm-hmm.
the pure medical.
Mm-hmm.
They have a tendency not to listen too well.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, but the rest is okay.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Very good. And so how did you get into this line of work? So, obviously it comes from your own experiences and things like this, but before the show we were talking about how you used to travel around and do consulting for lots of different companies.
Yeah.
So what got you to where you are type of thing?
I stopped working for a global company in 2016, 17. And then you have that moment, okay, what next?
Right, yeah.
And I'm not a guy who can sit still. I know it's not me.
Sure.
I have to move. I have to do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Too young to retire, in
Yeah.
my opinion, absolutely. So yeah, coaching is a thing it's one of the things you can do, and then you
Sure.
start to develop it and you start to like it. I started with some consultancy jobs, but that's not my cup of tea, because at the end of the day you do your job and
Mm-hmm.
you basically are worthless after that.
Yeah.
So yeah, coaching is for me the way to go. It's also coaching is a close
Mm-hmm.
engagement for a longer period of time with the owners of companies, and yeah, it's absolutely it's fun.
Yeah.
Especially when you see them growing.
Yeah.
That's the fun part.
Same thing as marketing, man. When you get in and you grow a company's bottom line, you become an invaluable asset to their team. So
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense from
Yeah,
there.
I always say I have to act as if I'm a shareholder,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I have to suffer as a shareholder,
Right.
and have fun as a shareholder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to experience the dark nights and the bright mornings type of
And
thing.
sleepless nights.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of those in any form of entrepreneurship.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
very good. So when you come into a new business, doesn't matter what they're doing. Let's say they're HVAC company or something like this.
Yeah.
What is your process like? So you go in, and obviously it seems like you have to kind of assess everything A to Z. So what types of stuff do you do from the introduction?
It depends a little bit how the crisis is. When they need a really fast sales, I do a different thing than starting to develop from scratch. So,
Gotcha.
But let's start with a standard scenario. They are lacking a strategy. They have no proper vision and mission. The core values are not really there. They are there, but not on a piece of paper. And I'm really perhaps that's working for German companies. That's one of the things I still have in the back of my mind. Planning.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Planning. So I push people to plan.
Mm-hmm.
With the famous phrase, failing to plan is planning to fail.
Sure.
Everyone is using it nowadays, but it still is like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I talk with the owners a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Also what their belief system is. Do they believe in themselves? Do they believe in the product?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of owners, they work for years in the same mouse trap.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is, do they still believe what they're doing?
Sure.
So that belief system is really important. And then from there, I work with a piece of software um, to check the possibilities, sales-wise and profit-wise. We walk through that.
Is that
part.
proprietary or is it a specific software that you use?
It's specialized software.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah. And profit acceleration software. And that's also the basis of my contract with them. So I like to work no result, no pay.
Wow.
Why would you pay someone when there is no result?
Right.
That's a waste of time and money.
Right.
So that software will tell me exactly where the possibilities are, what we can do and what we cannot do. And then that's part of that. No result, no pay. And from there, you, depending on the speed, as I just mentioned, when they need really fast sales, I start with developing their, you call it a value, no?
Value propositions? Yeah.
I call it a unique selling point. I call it a market dominating position.
Okay.
So there's a bit of a difference. A market dominating position is not so much a marketing slogan.
Right.
It's a real fundamental strategy. Because a lot of companies don't have a real strategy.
No, they don't. No.
So think about it. Domino pizzas. Was it the 80s or something? There was a smart guy on the board and he said, we need to grow, but how do we do it? And then the answer was, okay, let's offer 30 minutes, hot pizza, otherwise money back.
Right.
And that sounds like a nice marketing slogan, but it's much more. Because in order to do it, you need a lot of pizza ovens.
Right.
In those days, you didn't have Uber.
Right.
So you need guys driving around with pizzas. And in those days, also the payment system was not so advanced as now.
Right.
So the financial guys, the CFO also had to agree with money back.
Right.
Not easy.
No.
It was a franchise already. So that's a market dominating position. It's more than a slogan or unique selling proposition. It's just before that, and it will be a red thread through the whole organization.
Yeah. You know, back to the Domino's example. I've always thought about
lousy
how they
pizzas by that.
Yeah. I've always wondered how in the world they executed on that, because I mean, you know, depending on where you live, I mean, you and I both live in Mooresville, and so you know, at the wrong time of day, especially, like it could take. Imagine how long it takes to get down Brawley School Road. It could take 30 minutes.
But okay, no one orders pizza at 8.
Well, true. But even still, it's like I've always wondered how they were able to execute on that type of thing. But I guess they just had so much profit cooked into their pizza, and probably there was a little bit of customer. You know, the customer didn't. No, you don't have to give it for free.
31 minutes is okay.
Yeah,
I'm hungry.
Yeah, right. Something like that.
Yeah.
But
So true.
it's I mean, but that definitely put Domino's on the map. To your point.
But it's also the compelling offer.
Right.
Because everyone is offering the same pizzas.
Right.
But now the differentiator is
30 minutes or less. Yeah.
Yeah, and you get your money back.
Right.
Still eat, money back.
Yeah, that's a
compelling offer.
It is a compelling offer.
And there are not a lot of companies who really have a compelling offer.
Yeah. So one of the things we're talking about before the show is that, you know, now with technological advancements and AI and things like this, we're able to prompt these essentially ghostwriters that will write these things for us. And you can almost say, you know, what's Harm Stratman's value proposition or market dominating position type of a thing. And at the end of the day, a lot of what it comes down to is price that makes a big difference. Can you think of some of the things that companies can do, or share some of the things that you've used that is not price featuring that created a market dominating position for certain companies?
Yeah, so price is important for sure, but we also know that price is often not the main reason people decide.
Sure.
So everyone has that thing in their head that they like to have the best for themselves.
Sure.
The choice is the most. Their best choice is the most important thing. So when you come up with an offer which is creating, first of all, it's people do have a problem they don't want and looking for a solution they don't have.
Right.
So when that is a solution, and it is also wrapped in a nice knowledge blanket.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, it's a compelling offer in the sense of, but when you don't like it, you bring it back.
Right.
Then price is less important.
Sure.
So when you dumb down your communication to your customers, or it's so dumbed down that you cannot even call it communication,
right,
price is the only thing which is left.
Right.
And when I take a lot of small businesses and I look at how they communicate, that's, by the way, the first thing I do, I look at their website.
Yeah.
And when I see stuff like we are the best, and we are in business for the last 1,000 years,
Right.
and whatever, and we have real people, it's the start of nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
And
People don't care. People don't care. I think it's very, 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 very rare that any of those things can create a unique value proposition for a company.
No.
I think you may have a little bit with like been in business since 1959 or something like
But
that.
who cares?
Well,
That's the question the owner has to ask themselves.
Right,
And
right.
they don't. It's like a marketing. Oh, we are in business since
yeah, yeah.
third
it's
generation.
Yeah, and it's also like, but what does that mean?
Yeah.
What if you've been doing bad business since 1959?
Yeah.
People don't care.
Yeah.
However, I will say that in certain communities, I think that you could use that to create a value proposition, because you could say, serving the Mooresville community since whatever type of a thing. But one of the things that we lean into a lot with websites and everything like that as we do them is, we may have use cases right there for people to see, like this is actually the work that we do, or testimonials or something like that once again proves the concept with that stuff. So, but you're right, people don't really think about that too much.
Yeah. And so dumbing down using of AI,
Mm-hmm.
we discussed that the using of AI can be powerful as long as you do it in the proper way,
Sure.
with the right prompts, with the right tone of voice, etc., etc. And that's the point. A lot of small businesses are not doing that. They go,
I agree.
okay, I'm a plumber. Write something. I'm a plumber.
Yeah.
And the scary part is that you think about it, AI is a learning tool, so it learns of all the dumb things you are being publishing.
Right.
So it will add up tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's really dumb.
Yeah. So do you think that AI is gonna? Because I've been listening to some podcasts about this exact subject, but there's this principle of 95-5 where people that do things in general, but it's also true of AI. 95% of the time they'll just say, "Give me the answer to this," Whereas 5% they'll put in a lengthy, give me the answer to this situation with this thing, and this is the audience, and this is who I need to talk to, and this is the brand message and the unique value. They actually prompt it correctly. And these AI tools, like you mentioned, are learning. So it suffice it to say, who knows if it's going to get better or if it's going to get dumber. It's kind of a scary concept.
I personally think it's getting dumber.
Yeah.
It's more generic.
Yeah. It's a scary thing, It's a scary thing.
You build websites.
Yes.
Now take the websites. And you open up. You take some plumber. And we always talk. Why do we talk about plumbers?
I don't know. We've been picking on plumbers. Let's
yesterday.
There you go. There you go. Let's do something else. Let's do electricians.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's pick on something else.
Yeah. And when you open the websites, they all use almost all use the same template.
Right. Sure.
And then with the same headings.
Yeah.
And with the same positioning, and they put the logo always left in the top.
Right.
It's all the same.
Right.
So it's getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah. I think that good companies and good designers will continue to evolve that, because there's certainly more advanced things that you can do. However, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about on this podcast is that I'm a big believer in meeting the customer where they are, type of thing. And so can we design a fully customized website that has all the bells and whistles and looks way different, and it's a maverick, it's an original thing, as compared to like a template thing? Yes, absolutely, but it costs 2 to 3 times as much.
Absolutely.
And so a lot of people that just want to have a good looking design, they don't want to front the extra bill, so you kind of have to meet them where they're at with that stuff. So it's kind of a threshold with that stuff.
Yeah, but then be critical about the communication, the text.
Yeah. And then from a design standpoint, not to get too far in the weeds about this, but I think that a lot of design is based on, I think it's based on, are you familiar with the golden rule, the Fibonacci sequence and this type of stuff? So it's basically what it is.
Photography?
Yeah, it's a photography discipline, but it's also true of like design of any type. You actually see it if you look close enough, you'll see it in shirts and just everything type of thing. But there's a certain way that's more pleasing to the eye, similar to how colors evoke emotion type of thing. So I think that we've gotten to a point, to your point, where people are looking at these websites and they all look kind of similar or vanilla or standard type of a thing, because those are all based on what's easiest to use and easiest to draw your call to action with
Cheapest.
that stuff. So and least expensive because it's repeatable. So
Yeah,
you
what
know.
I did last year, I was because normally I stop where operational marketing starts in my activities. But you get overwhelmed with discussions with marketeers, with companies like yours,
Oh, sure.
about pricing of websites. So
Yeah.
what I did, I said I have to know exactly about WordPress.
Yeah.
So I started to learn WordPress
Yeah.
and Elementor.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I have to know exactly when they tell me if you have to make an additional box and it's costing me so much
Sure.
more.
Yeah.
What does it really is?
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah. What's involved with it?
How much time does it cost?
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize, there's a lot of stuff also going on that side. It's not so simple as I thought.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's interesting, and I think back to the subject of innovation. You know, there's other. We typically work in WordPress, but a lot of customers also work in Wix and Squarespace and stuff like that. Yeah. And that Wix and Squarespace is more of a drag and drop type of a, you add a block and just whoosh, get it over type of thing. Yeah. But WordPress, you still have a little bit of coding elements and things like that. So kind of interesting that it'll go that way. I think that those systems, because I think systems are created to make it as easy as possible for consumers. And I think that Squarespace and Wix are eventually going to, with the additions of AI, I think that within 5 or 10 years, I don't think we'll be doing websites at all anymore. I think that people will just be able to type in what they want. I'm a plumber, I'm an electrician or whatever, and then boom, out comes a website with that stuff. So we'll have to find ways to adapt with that stuff.
I noticed that Wix now is using one of their pieces of software, which is equal or part of the WordPress suite also.
Yeah.
So there is a kind
they're
of
merging.
Yeah, they're merging.
Yeah, it's it is an interesting environment, and we don't really know what the future holds, but we know that it's coming. So it's very interesting. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about technology. So when you're going into companies and you're coaching the companies on their process, you're getting familiarized with their process, and you're going through and you're doing what I would call a deep dive of learning the owners, learning if their belief system, their values, their core values, learning if they believe in the product themselves, so on and so forth, their sales process, their marketing angle, who they outsource their vendorships, accounting, stuff like that. When you're going into these things, a lot of what you've learned how to do is of course created from your experience. Yeah. But how has technology helped you with that stuff? How has it created, like maybe with the proprietary software you use for profitability forecasting? Like what types of things do you use on a day-to-day basis?
For sure, the profit acceleration software. Mm-hmm. From there, so take the short track. Companies are really in need of change really fast. Sure. Bottom line. Market dominating position, that's the first step, and then analysis of the sales. Simple rules like the 80-20. Everyone can use it. It's so simple, but it tells you exactly where the problems are. Sure. What
do you for our listeners? Because I've heard, and I'll tell you what they are after you answer. But what's your interpretation of 80-20 for that example?
Which 20% of the customer is creating 80% of the output. Yeah. But that's the generic way of looking at it. Yeah. You go a little bit deeper. Take your sales force. Yeah. Bigger companies or mid-sized companies, they should be aware that sales managers often are a big problem. Sure. They are kind of clocking the system with transferring the internal strategy development, budget, whatever. How is it with the salespeople? How many salespeople are making really the target? But also, do they make their contribution? Right. So when you make an analysis of sales guys and girls, and you see, okay, a lot of sales, no margin. Okay, what's happening with the discount structure? Right. All that kind of 80-20 approaches you should take care of. Yeah. And it gives you great insight. Yeah. The reason I asked you that is because we had a Business Legends guest. His name's Jason Waller. He was the CEO of Power Home Solar. Long story and a crazy episode. But on air, he mentioned that every quarter he lets go 20% of his staff. Yep. He every quarter he lets go the lowest 20% performing of his staff because it was such an aggressive market of sales, and he was transparent about that, and I have my own feelings about that system or whatever,
but he grew it to $1 billion company. Using that mindset, that competitive.
It started with GE at the
right.
time.
Yep.
They did the same. And when you look at a good analysis, what you will see is that in the last 40%, so it's 20, 40, 40.
Right.
So in the last 40%, you have people who just make a positive return, but also, customers also, by the way, but also a lot negative.
Sure.
So cutting that 20%, it's something they told me, McKinsey is also doing when you walk into a company and you want to clean it up. The easiest way is to look at the 80-20, take the last 40%,
right.
take the last 20 or the last 15, and you're only cutting away elements, customers or salespeople who are costing money.
Right.
So you can do it with your closed eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
a very numerical objective.
Away.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I have my opinions about that, and in a perfect.
Socially.
Yeah. Exactly.
We talked about it.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting subject.
It is, because it's like in a perfect world you would want your underperformers to grow type of thing, but sometimes, especially if you give them all the tools that are necessary, and before the show for our listeners, we were talking about looking in the mirror as a manager, as an owner, as an operator. Sometimes if you're objective and fair with yourself, you have to realize that person's not a good fit for your company too. So we've experienced that in our tenure of working since 2017. Yeah. So, but that's just one of those things you learn as you go along, I guess.
Yeah. Being a European and work for European companies, I think that when you compare the US with Europe, what you see is that here it's like, okay, cleaning house by definition, out. What you see happening at the moment is all the 50 plus white dudes are on the chopping block.
Right.
All the levels.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. When you talk with franchise sales guys selling franchises, there is a wave of 50 plus guys. It's really sad.
Yeah.
All the levels without a job running around here in the Charlotte area.
Yeah.
Really sad. So
it's very strange.
And so my way of thinking is more, okay, when you hire someone and you did your ultimate best to get the right person, now let's assume that did work well, and he's not performing, what's going wrong? Is it sales management? Is that how you train him? What's going wrong?
Right.
And kicking him out only for bottom line reasons without looking in the mirror as a manager, I have problems with that.
Yeah, and I think that on average, a lot of people, whether it's a manager or an owner operator of a business, I think that a lot of people lack self-awareness, and they don't take time to look in the mirror. What could I have done better with that stuff? And that's one of, actually, we were talking about core values. It's one of mine and my business partner's core values is that we always take the first hit. We always take the first blame. How could we have done better with this subject and stuff?
That's the way to do it.
And it can be tough at times. What could we have done better with this situation?
And there's a really nice subject which is a little bit. You think about it. It's political in a way, but also it has to do with values.
Sure.
So you have the bigger companies; they are all inclusive. And you look at the website. The website pictures are not so inclusive anymore.
Right.
It's really narrowed down on age.
Yeah.
And they're cleaning house constantly by kicking out people above the 50 because they're getting too expensive.
Right.
So where is that social face?
Yeah. That's
where is that so? And no one is talking about it.
Yeah.
But it is so painfully there.
Yeah.
Big companies cleaning and cleaning and cleaning.
We actually know a gentleman. I will not tell you his name, and I'll tell you after the show. And he would tell you. I promise. I know him very well. He's a very close colleague of ours. But same thing happened. He worked in the banking system. He's 55 years old, and he was making a ton of money, and he was performing, but he was very expensive on their system. And the thing that was most tragic, he's a very smart guy, but he was able to optimize their systems to the point where he was saving the bank millions of dollars. But after he saved the millions, they said thanks, and then yeah. And so he ended up basically starting his own business as a consequence of that. But
and they hired him back.
No, no, that would be funny if they did. But but once that loyalty is gone, I mean, what would happen if they did hire him back?
Yeah.
They would hire him back, and he would probably, if we're being honest, he would probably do a half-assed job, and he would just do whatever he needed to do to get a paycheck with that stuff, and
But realize that when you talk about the tension between labor
mm-hmm.
and
management,
why is that? It has a reason, huh? Why is loyalty? Why would you be loyal in working for a bigger company?
Yeah.
Or even mid-sized companies?
Right.
Because now you have a job, and
mm-hmm.
tomorrow, because of the bottom line is a little bit low for
mm-hmm.
the first quarter,
mm-hmm.
they kick you out. Where's the loyalty?
Yeah.
Doesn't work. Huh?
It's a sad thing, and the thing that I'm reminded of from this conversation and also with him is that his plight is far from unique. It's such, like you said, it's a glaring problem that is very obvious.
Yeah.
There are people that are in their 50s that are losing their positions because they become too expensive for a company. Now, with that said, I mean, I think you also have to look at the entire picture, because if people that are in that position are underperforming, like I don't believe that tenure should really be as counted on if somebody's performing at a 10% level or something like that.
No,
and
not, okay,
yeah,
sure.
And what immediately comes to mind with that is that I had some college professors that had tenure, worst professors ever. I mean, just didn't try. They would show up for class. I'll actually tell you a story after we get off air here. But I had this professor, and she would show up. She had tenure, and she would look back and she would look at the PowerPoint and she'd say, What are we talking about today? No preparation for class, no preparation for coursework at all.
I'm not talking about that.
Yeah, underperformance.
I talk about performance,
people that
only
don't deserve
because
it.
of age.
Right. Yeah, and that's not fair.
It's not even allowed to do it, but no one starts that fight.
Right. Yeah.
Let's face it, when you're 55, 50,
mm-hmm.
and you're kicked out because of your age and your salary level,
mm-hmm.
you don't have time to start a court case.
Right.
You're in survival mode.
Yeah.
See around.
Yeah.
Therefore, the number of franchises being sold at the moment, it's going up like hell.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way it goes. It's almost like the natural course of corporate career. Like you work in a corporate structure for 20, 30 years, and then they kick you out, and then you end up buying a franchise.
So you have to make sure you fill your pockets.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. It's kind of sad. Have you ever seen the movie Thomas Crown Affair? Pierce Brosnan is the primary actor in it.
No.
It's a spectacular movie. If you like movies, it's a great movie. But anyway, Pierce Brosnan, James Bond, he's the guy that he's a multi-rich person, but he's an art thief.
Mm-hmm.
And so he ends up the whole movie is based on this painting. It's called The Son of Man, and it's a painting where gentleman that is wearing a business suit, and there's a green apple in front of his face with that. But the whole premise of that painting and everything was that businessmen these days are so replaceable because they're just nameless and faceless folks that wear their suits and ties and that type of thing. So, anyways,
hiding behind the function.
Yeah, it's kind of a sad thing, but I don't even know how people could revolt against that part of the system, because I think it's just an infrastructure problem. Like, because companies aren't really looking at people emotionally. They're looking at what's in the best interest of the company.
But also I think it's political wise at the moment acceptable to kick out 50-year-old white dudes.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's part of the system.
Right. Yeah. It's
sounds awful when I say it like that.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's like you said, it's almost like a corporate epidemic of sorts.
Yeah.
So it's a sad thing.
And then complaining about the lack of people and knowledge.
Right.
But we have AI for that.
Yeah. That's an interesting cycle in itself, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So, what types of franchises do you think 50-year-old white dudes should look into after
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Wow. That's it. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's so many. There's so many. This is pretty amazing how many franchises you have, and I don't know.
Yeah.
There are many. I think it's so depending on their focus, what they did in the past, their love of what do they really love. I think that after so many years in corporate, doing what you like to do is a really important one.
Sure.
And whether you like to teach children some math, or you like painting, painting company, or you whatever, I don't know. But do something you like.
Find some type of a passion type of thing.
That's find your right passion. because it seems that corporate didn't like your passion.
Yeah. Or your, or your outcome, or they just didn't like the system. One of the challenges I have a friend, a very close friend, and one of his employees. He recently learned that one of his employees years ago got arrested for something bad. It just came out. This employee was.
How bad is bad?
On a scale of 1 to 10, it's on paper it's a 10, but what actually happened, if you know the story, is like a 5, which isn't great, but it's not a good situation, and this guy he's the guy that got in trouble. He's a great person, but more importantly, he was a great employee, and he said that this person is almost single-handedly responsible for their growth in the last 6 years, because this was a great employee type of thing. Anyway, customers get aware of that, and he had no awareness of this, and he finds himself asking, like, what should he do? And he says, if this was like a corporation, he would just, you're gone. I can't sacrifice face or reputation for this situation, because it's, like I said, on paper, it's as bad goes, But then on the other hand, it's like you think about what this person's done for his business, and obviously never done anything bad to him personally, type of thing. So he's been having this dilemma with what he should do with that situation. So it's
You're
tough.
asking my opinion.
Yeah. What's your opinion? What's your opinion on this? And I know it's hard without actually knowing what 10 out of 10 on paper is. But
okay, so I'm European.
Right.
So big differences between the way we look in Europe. And I live here for now. What is it? 16, 17 years. 17 years almost. So, for instance, in Europe, when you hire someone, it's not allowed to do a drugs test.
Interesting. Wow.
So you don't. And I have stories about that when I was working here. That good potential labor, they got a test and they failed because they were doing the joints on the weekend basis.
Right.
And then you had to do the test. Tell them first, hey, you're going to be tested.
Right.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
And I have no problems with that.
Right.
So Europe and here is a bit different. So I think that when you did your jail time or whatever for society, and they let you go, you served your time.
Sure.
It's something else when you talk about sex offenders, murderers, or something like that.
Right.
That I see that, but the rest, they served.
Right. They served their time.
When that system is correct,
right,
then they should have a fresh start.
Right.
And
it doesn't work like that, though.
I know,
which is sad,
but
yeah.
That's something I always have battled. Also, when I was managing companies here, I didn't like that because let's face it, nowadays, who is using gummies? Who is using
everyone?
Who is drinking? Because we punish people who are using soft drugs, marijuana.
Right.
But we accept someone who's drinking several glasses of whiskey every night.
Right.
That's okay.
Right.
Or abuse of medicine. How many people are driving around with all kind of a mental
all
drugs?
sorts of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, because they are totally freaking out all day. And we accept that.
Right. Yeah. Or it's like, where do you draw the line?
Another nice one. This is going to be a really nasty political.
Well, that's okay. I mean, that's what the show's all about.
Think about something else. Do we also punish people who are eating so much that they fall apart and they're exploding almost?
Right. It's which is an addiction in and of itself.
It's an addiction.
Yeah.
And the people need support. I'm
right.
not saying, but they need support. But no, I have no problems with that.
Yeah.
As long as it's not a sex offender, mentally problem.
Right.
Sex offender, or it's a murderer.
Right.
Or but car theft
or something like that. Like what?
Drugs.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like selling drugs or something like that.
Someone in jail for 20 years because he had 10 joints in his pocket.
Right. Like that's.
Please.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing, and then it's to bring up what you said, if they've served their time, then they deserve a fresh start.
They
type
paid
of
society.
Thing. Right.
Right. A part of their life.
Sure. So, it's interesting because a lot of things you mentioned, because you said, they've paid society except for these situations like murders and sex offenders and stuff like that, But it's like why do you draw the line there, right? Because if the system is designed to for second chances, so to speak, you know, and they served a lot of time type of thing and done whatever. And I'm not saying it's right, don't get me wrong, but you know, it's like why do you draw a line anywhere there? You know, it should be all good or all bad, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So where do you draw the line, and what's the liability? Because that's the biggest problem.
Right.
When you hire someone who is driving around on a forklift truck,
sure,
going up with weights and whatever, and you know that he is using some substance,
right,
once in a while.
Yeah.
How can you
gauge that or whatever?
Yeah. And when something happens, then
Yeah.
there's a lawyer coming after you.
Right.
Then the circle is around.
Yeah. It's interesting to think about that stuff though, you know, because I don't think there's any right answers to any of this stuff. I mean, people have their
but
advices.
it is rather rigid here.
It is,
and it's not fair. It will absolutely. Some groups in society are being negatively,
affected
by this.
Sure. One of our very first Business Legends episode, actually I think it was episode number 1, with a gentleman named Scott Jennings. He would not mind me telling you this. In fact, he said it on air. But so Scott Jennings, he spent 3 years incarcerated because he was selling cocaine. And when he got out of jail, they gave him a check for, I think it's $82. They said, good luck. They gave him the shirt that was on his back when he came in and $82, you know, and they said, good luck. So the first thing that he did, I mean, he went everywhere.
He bought a joint?
yeah. With $82, he bought a joint. No, but the first thing he did, you know, he tried to get a job everywhere. He has $82, you know, and nobody would hire him. He's an ex-felon. He's a convicted felon that you know, was caught selling cocaine to a undercover police officer, you know. And
that's not smart.
No, but I mean, hey, I mean, they're designed to trick you. But anyways, he couldn't get a job anywhere, and so
he had to start his own business.
Had to start his own business, and so he went and bought a used push lawnmower, and he started mowing lawns. And so he went from mowing lawns, he went into the fitness industry. Started doing fitness equipment and stuff like that, and then he went into Airbnb, short-term entrepreneurs. Anyway, the point of the story is, so he got involved with this organization called Inmates into Entrepreneurs, and the point of it is, look, you know, you can have your opinions about people's pasts and things like this, right? And certainly, I think that certain felonies are not nearly as bad as others, right? I mean, you know, if you whatever, I mean, certain felonies are just not as bad as others, you know. Yeah. But at the end of it, you know, these people are having trouble getting hired, and so you find the recurrence rate, and so people that are convicted felons oftentimes end up committing more crimes so they can go back to jail because it's the life they're accustomed to.
They have a roof above their head.
Right. So
they have to make money one way or the other.
Right. So it's an interesting subject. Kind of a dark turn of conversation here, but
but it is. But
yeah.
To be honest, until now, I never had the honor to help someone with that history.
Right.
No.
It's
they don't talk about it, because what I'm doing about 20. I didn't mention it here, but 20% of my time I work with companies who cannot afford me.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Again with the 80-20 rule.
Yeah, I suppose so. And so you would expect that, but they never talk about it.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of shame involved with that.
Yeah.
So they probably don't want you to know, and you know, people have their judgments and things like this. So if you learn something nasty about somebody, you might not be inclined to work. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it's a scary thing. So we're running out of time here, but before we get moving here, I always like to sign off with a fun question or a funny question type of thing. So let's say that you know, you did such an amazing job for a company that they ended up, you know, if you're taking a commission on the profitability from your coaching, things like this, let's say tomorrow you got a check for $100 million or something like that, right? And I hope you do, by the way.
Thank you.
So what would you do then? Like, so you have $100 million, you don't need to coach anymore, you got $100 million. So what would you do from that point? Professionally, not personally. Like, you can go out on a yacht if you want, but
professionally.
Yeah.
Wow.
Retire.
Professional retirement.
Yeah, professional retirement.
But okay, professionally. That's a good question. I haven't thought about it. buy some interesting property, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just kind of.
Rentals.
Yeah. Just do rentals and kind of.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I think hot issues are RV parks at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
yeah.
So we had a consultation with an RV park, and through COVID, RV dealers and things like this, they were charging like 50 and 60% extra for their RVs because everybody wanted.
And now
them.
they're not able to sell them. Huh?
Now they're exactly now nobody wants them.
No.
So it's very interesting.
Yeah.
So it's a struggling industry.
Yeah,
but
it is.
that's a
But-
interesting thing too.
Yeah, but that's something. Privately, I'm a navigational officer.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't even mention that. I worked some years for Shell on the bridge as a
Oh wow.
officer and engineer. I did double studies.
Oh wow.
And my passion is sailing, so I would buy a 55-foot great ocean-going sailboat.
Nice. That's it.
And with enough equipment on board, and say bye bye.
Yeah. Sell the world.
Sell the world.
That's it.
Yeah, that's my passion.
Well, I hope that's where we get. So very good. Well, Harm, thank you so much for joining us today, and let's go have some lunch, man.
It was fun.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.